Hey, what's up, guys? Figured I would start easing into the October, basically like 300% horror rather than you know uh, the 50-60% horror I do during the rest of the year. So, we're looking at the interesting. I saw these comics. I gotten them on the back issue place. Two very. I thought it was interesting. The Occult Files of Doctor Spektor and the Many Ghosts of Dr. Graves. Now, you got Charlton, you got Gold Key. To many people, maybe outside of America or North America, anyway, you think of just even in Europe or Asia, everyone knows about Marvel and DC. But you've had many other companies in America throughout what I would argue is the golden age. These comics are from the 70s. Was Gold Key, right? Western Publishing, based in Poughkeepsie, New York, the Hudson Valley. And it was Charlton Comics Group in what was it, Derby, Connecticut. I'm not sure what part of Connecticut Derby is. I think it's near Hartford, but of course these long gone companies. It's interesting to see that you had long running companies making a profit, uh, doing actually superheroes was probably a very small or was just one of many different genres that these comics continue to make. So I'll show you something interesting right here. You see this? Approved by the Comics Code. Charlton followed the Comics Code. Gold Key. You don't see that. You don't see a Comics Code uh, approved by the Comics Code. Gold Key never and Dell. They never signed on to that. Very interesting. Not that they were super edgy and did crazy stuff, but they just like, yeah, we're not doing that. So anyway, let's just go quick here. Cult Files of Dr. Spectre. Basically, you have in these comics, you have a gentleman, bearded gentleman, knowledge, who is sort of the hero. You could say sort of like Count de Richelieu in the Dennis Wheatley, the Hammer film, right? The Devil Rides Out. Basically, a man of knowledge, a wise man, a man who has supernatural law and has the guts to actually apply his knowledge to fighting creatures and the supernatural and helping people. It's kind of cool. So let's just go through here. Of course, neither of these comics had any credits in them, so I looked them up. Of course, Don Bluth is the writer. I knew he was the writer of Dr. Spectre. Of course, the art is by, I keep saying, the unsung Filipino artist, Jesse Santos. So we'll go through here. You see, it's 73, long time ago. And you look at the art, and you see what I keep saying about the Filipino artists, right? That there is a Spanish influence, a European influence is easily seen. But I would argue that there's also, with the Filipino artists, there's an influence from manga. So you look here at the characters. You could argue with me, but I definitely think there's a manga influence here. And what's interesting about these comics too, the panels. Right? You have standard panels, right, with a ruler, but then you have panels where there's no bound. You see this. There's this weird kind of. There's no real demarcation. Kind of flows into it. It's very interesting looking at that. So anyway, the story. This woman has a family curse on her descendants, and someone is they do a seance. But my man here, he said he knows the supernatural. He's like, I want to help her. Look at that. To me, that's manga influenced. Of course, Dr. Spector's secretary was this Lakota, half Lakota, half Sioux woman. And this is cool. He figured out a way to try to help the woman and find out how to fight the evil spirit of this warlock. Anyway, and of course I always love the old advertisements here. Oh, this is great, man. I love this stuff. I want to get the Dr. Spectre collections. There was a comic store that had them. Somebody bought them. They were pretty expensive, hardcover. Not as expensive as they are on eBay now. So I love the art, but I love the. And of course, here you have, right. What's cool about it is you have, and you'll see that with this too. You have a story where the obviously the protagonist, Dr. Spektor, is in it, right? But then it's easy to use him as sort of a crypt keeper type horror host character who is not even in the story. He'll I present to you the story of death between floors. So, and this is more like the regular horror vein, you could say, or there's a sort of a twist at the end. The story has a pretty cool twist involving three men stuck in an elevator. Okay, one of them is a criminal, and one of them is a werewolf. And of course, being stuck in the elevator, the werewolf is going to be the night of the full moon when it happens. So, cool, man. This is history right here. This was entertaining. This was great. Once again, the Jesse Santos, the Filipino artist, man. Someone should make a book about the different Filipino artists working for the genre stuff. Okay, and I don't think they ever did superheroes. Anyway, that's Spektor. Cool painted cover. This is a painted cover. This would be like a cover that you would have, and you see that a lot with the Gold Key comics. The covers are painted covers. They could be the covers of novels. Cheap paperback novels or whatever, but a lot of quality for a comic. Right? This is novel quality, art, man. Really interesting. So now we'll go to the ghost, the many ghosts of Dr. Graves. Right off the bat, man. Look at this logo. This logo is almost pointing to the thrash and death metal logos, the future. And once again, you have a character. Now, once again, you don't have any credits. Right? These companies didn't really give the credit to the creator on here. But this is Joe Gill. I keep bringing up Joe Gill. He's the writer. He did Shotgun Hardcore Chicken, but he did a lot. He was the workhorse dude. Actually worked for, I believe, DC. Did a lot of characters there. And then settled into Charlton, where he was kind of the main writer on a lot of titles. Solid dude, but the art, I was looking at the art here. Very bizarre. Look at these panels, right? This is almost free-flowing drawn. They're not using this thing, right? The artist is kind of freehand drawing. You say, oh, it's cheap. That's the Charlton way. No, you could tell there's a style to this. It gets a lot in here, but who is this artist? And you probably one of the greatest science fiction series on television ever, right here, Space 1999. That's right, I said it. And of course, the comic adaptations were made by Charlton, right, in Derby, Connecticut. What a great! The first season of this is probably one of the best fucking sci-fi shows ever. Lovecraftian science fiction. Yeah, I'll say it. But anyway, get into the story. You see Dr. Graves. Now he's kind of similar to Dr. Spektor, right? Helping this man who has been caught up in this cult with this evil, who is this fiendish, inscrutable Oriental. Oh. And so you see the story. Yeah, it's kind of cool. They end up fighting the armor. And like I said, Dr. Spektor goes, I don't have powers. I don't have magical powers, but I have knowledge. Okay, I have knowledge of how to fight the magic. Right? That's cool. Look at that house. They're fighting demons. So it becomes almost like a video game, in a way, it reminds me of this. But once again, who is this artist? And I love this art. This art's kind of it's hard to describe it. There's something about this art I like. Look at this. The giant rats. The rats in the walls. Well, the artist of this known for working for Marvel later, Tom Sutton, right? Man-Thing, bunch of other stuff. Tom Sutton, great artist. You should have seen his art in the 80s, but that was Charlton, man. Charlton gave a lot of guys their first work, a lot of ability to get stuff out. They didn't get paid much, but they didn't. Like you said, the guys who ran the company, for the most part, didn't care too much about what you were doing, as long as you followed the comics code. That's right. Anyway, the story was cool. You're doing. It's kind of cool. I like how he sort of sabotages this evil sorcerer guy, you know. But and of course, you have another story. It's interesting. You still had this thing. They were doing this in like the 50s, where you have like that's Dicko artwork, but you have like a written story. Oh, look at those boomers. I'm with stupid. It is stupid. Picture stupid. I'm. Oh man, and yeah, really, really awesome, really cool, really seeing this. Also, some of the stories, just like with Dr. Spektor, they would just have Dr. Graves not taking part in like a story about some other guy, other people. Well, it's sort of like the Crypt Keeper too. So it was a cool way to have the protagonist as a character in the story. You know, this guy, and then also using him as like the horror host who would just announce the stories and show up at the end. You know, after it was finished. Good stuff, man. Good, very similar characters, but like this shows you the diversity you have. American comics, man, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna give a lot of credit, man. It almost makes what they allowed American comics to mostly become with the publishers that were left to be a double disgraceful. Okay, with the legacy that you have, and this is not high art. This is not this is like wonderful. This is what comics are supposed to be. I hate to say it, comics are not supposed to be a high art form. Okay, I'll say it again. Comics are not supposed to be a high art form. Okay, but they do very well in their place, and in their place they can do a lot in their place. But anyway, I just hope you liked it. I can't think of anything else to say here. Yeah, no, it's very very interesting, these two characters here. And yeah, Halloween is Halloween's a while away, but I keep saying it's really the October season. It's cooler outside. That's all I care about. So let the ghosts gather, okay, in the darkness later.